it's time to take a look at Wisp, because this is the new frame, and I thought before I do anything else, I'll take a look at her. She costs 325 to buy. She is low on the shields and health, but her parts are the only real problem for her because they drop from the new boss, and you will need 1,200 of the hexagon to build her, because the chassis takes 500, the neuroptics takes 300, and the systems takes 400. But totally worth it because her abilities look like they're going to be amazing. No mod slots for the excited. I really wish they all came with that. It would save so much time, and I've got to stop automatically unlocking them because I'm not going to use that straight away. She comes with a V polarity, a D polarity, and a dash in her aura, which should make for a pretty interesting build to start with her. Her first ability are these reservoirs. You can have 6 of these in total on the map, but if you are playing with another Wisp and they have lower level stuff, then you will pick up theirs. You have to wait until that expires before you can do anything with these. There are 3 of them. There is Vitality, which pops up as the red one here, which gives you health. There is the green one, which gives you speed, and if I put it over here, you can see it on the mini map. It actually pops up as green. To pick these up, you just have to be around them, just in the circle, and while you're in the circle, these buffs are also infinite. And there is also shock, and I wish that this worked a little bit better, but this one, well, as you could probably guess, shocks enemies, and you can see it does a tiny little bit of amount of damage. But if you pick this up and go near other enemies, you bring that effect with you, making it kind of useful. It just pulses and stuns enemies. Her second ability, however, is kind of like a teleport. It shoots out a clone of yourself and you can jump to it at any point. To track this thing, however, keep an eye on the mini-map. You can actually see it on the mini-map, so you know that at a certain point you want to jump to it, so you don't end up doing that and nearly missing the platform you are aiming for completely. But of course, that being said, you have to know exactly where on the mini-map you are trying to land to be able to do it. Missed many a thing. And her third ability, Breach Surge, can actually be cast from it. If you cast it, it will cast from her second ability. I'm not going to teleport to that because that would just be pure death. But speaking of the Breach ability, this will basically set enemies to sleep. Kind of. It's like a stun effect, but it doesn't really last that long. The big bit to this comes with if you can kill an enemy, and I've kind of gone for completely the wrong enemies to try and have here for level 135s. While they are under this, they will create a wisp. You see it come off and it attacks an enemy. This will take damage with it. The only real thing I want to answer, which is why I'm kind of in here, is these things come off when it looks like when you land headshots. It's not a guarantee that this will actually come off. Will it actually, because it goes and tracks down enemies, will it go across the map? This is a huge if it'll come off. It doesn't actually travel across the map. You'll see that one kind of went straight up. Then there is her last ability, Soulgate. Now, these may only be crewmen because if I use previous footage where I had the amalgams out from before, yes, you can take them down fairly quickly, but swapping over to some enemies that may be a bit weaker against it and swapping it up a bit so it does a little bit less damage but has a little bit more efficiency and duration in there from the horrible thing I had on before, and you'll notice these ones go down a lot quicker, which is where the whole "this is overpowered" comes from. It's not, because not every enemy is weak against radiation damage, because that's what this is. It's radiation damage. The one thing you do have to be aware of when you exit that ability, if you're close to an edge, you will fall off the map. The longer you keep the beam going, the more damage it will actually do. But as it continues, and I've taken power primed flow off here, just starts to get to do some serious damage, and boom, out of energy. She is a pretty decent frame. The reservoirs will come in really handy, but if you're going to use them, then honestly the vitality and the shock are probably two of the better ones. Haste is good if you're running around a lot, but if you're using her in defense missions or disruption, which is actually a really good game mode, I'm really enjoying that at the minute, then haste really isn't as useful as vitality and shock, meaning that because you can only have 6 of them, you can put 2 down in 3 different places, and there's the 6 that you can have down. Her second ability, that Will of Wisp, I've used it a couple times. I don't tend to use that a lot. Same goes with Breach Surge, to be honest. It's okay, but it just, I don't know. There was something about it that it doesn't really put the enemies to sleep as I expected it to. It's still useful, but it's Soulgate. The fact that it was radiation damage, still kind of hoped it was going to turn out to be more heat damage, and there was going to be some way of combining it, something to do with the weapon. Maybe if you had a electrical based weapon it would combine the two, but no, purely radiation. If it wasn't for the fact that she came with 150 armor, the 200 energy, she would probably be a lackluster frame that would die fairly easily. The armor and the energy really made up for a lot of the shortcomings with the abilities, but that's just, I was expecting one thing, that came out with something else. They all actually work pretty well. The reservoirs, probably the best thing about her, and being her first ability, as soon as you start using her you can actually start using those, well, one of them, because you have to unlock the other ones as it levels up, which makes it a bit time consuming. But the only reason I haven't talked about builds for her, this simply comes because I went for an Augur type build on her, which was kind of just, I haven't used these that much, but the added 120% energy spent on abilities is converted to shields, with a shields mod in there, worked pretty well. Didn't have to run vitality because of the vitality reservoir, so threw in reach, message, which is of course ability duration, and it didn't work out the best because it's 169% power strength, 130 range, 130 efficiency, 179 duration, but I need to format her with at least one more V, and I think I'll format this because it's the only one that's probably going to stay there. The rest of them may change over time. I couldn't settle on an actual power build, so I haven't put the second format in her yet, but I'm kind of just enjoying running around with her instead of having to format her and go through the whole leveling process again. I'm just enjoying using her and using her abilities. In the future, probably right after I finish recording this, I may put that other V on there, but for now I am more than happy with the way that she is, and I'm quite happy with just leaving her with the Augur mods because the abilities make up for the lack of health. The efficiency and the range aren't that low anyway, so they're not that low, they're not really bad in any way. I just wish I could fit sprint mods in here as well, but having the sprint speed of 1.2, she is a pretty good frame. Thoroughly enjoying her, which makes a change, because usually after I format it once, it's yeah, I'll just go back to using Frost and get on with a new game mode. I'm using her, formatting her in the Disruption game mode because it's a lot of fun, and she is lasting way longer than I thought she would in there. But we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch yous next time.